Welcome to Back on the Broomstick,
a modern witch's spoken word grimoire.
where two witchy friends from way back are reconnecting to their pagan roots after a long period of mundanity.
We're rewalking the path of the wise and trying out all the latest spells, rituals, and magical theory in today's witchcraft and pagan practices.
So grab your wand and your incense,
Your cauldron and your crystals,
and join us
as we get
back on the broomstick.
Hi, and welcome to Back on the Broomstick. And happy Lughnasadh to all of our listeners in the Northern Hemisphere, and happy Imbolc to our listeners in the Southern Hemisphere. I'm Layla, and today we'll be talking about the history and ways to celebrate the first harvest festival of the Wheel of the Year, Lughnasadh.
And I'm Shell, and I am not prepared for it to be August 1st. How about the rest of you?
No, definitely not, especially since we just got back from wonderful festival. I'm not ready to let go of that or the summer yet.
Festival hangover. It's a thing.
Everybody is so sad to come back to Mundania. And I think I even mentioned to you that I'm very sad that I don't have fire circles and drum circles at night anymore. I need more of those in my life.
But on the flip side of that, I am glad to be back for my coven ritual. So, there's something to be said for that wild and free festival environment. And then there's something to be said coming back to a little bit of structure. And as I pointed out to you in a text message the day you came home, there's also something to be said for your own bed.
Yeah, that's actually true. And I'm quite excited because on Lughnasadh, on the day that this episode comes out, I'm coming back to starting to create a local community, which I am very, very excited about. I met someone right before we left for festival, and so we're having a little get together on the 1st, and I'm very excited to see what kind of local community we can create.
And I am super excited for you. And by the way, I am also proud of you for like putting yourself out there because it's one thing to be a part of or join a community or coven or group. It's another thing to try to start one. So
That's true.
bravo, kudos to you.
And you would know because we've done it before.
And it's hard. It's
It is
hard.
hard.
So if we have any listeners that are either in Northeast PA or South Central New York, keep on the lookout because Layla's trying to start some shit.
Yeah, and honestly, August 1st is a good time for that. I really do think to get us back to Lughnasadh, to bring it back to that. It's a good time to kind of reevaluate, to kind of look at where you're at. And, I think we kind of both did that coming back from festival, reevaluating where we're at in our witchy magical lives and where we want to go from here.
I would almost call it like mid-year reflection, but there's going to be that person who's going to send us a message and say, Shell, mid-year is June and you're talking August 1st. Like, I hear you, but summer is like, it's like a mystical land. It's like Avalon, it's like it's between the worlds. That's summer. And so summer is kind of hazy. And so I look at this as like a mid-year reflection. It's the first time you're starting to reap what you've sown throughout the year.
Yeah.
It's that first, okay, this is what I've put into it. What am I getting back?
Lughnasadh is the first of 3 harvest festivals on the Wheel of the Year, the modern pagan celebrations, but it's also a very old festival. This is one that has been celebrated for a very long time. It's a Gaelic seasonal festival. It's been celebrated in Ireland, Scotland, and the Isle of Man. It typically falls on August 1st, but you would calculate it as about the midway point. Like you said, halfway. It's about the midway point from the summer solstice to the autumn equinox. And so we're like halfway. So this is a good time to make those reflections, that first harvest, that midway point.
Not only is it kind of that midway point, but it's considered one of the 4 Celtic fire festivals.
Samhain, Imbolc, and Beltane are the other 3.
Correct. And when I think of unfortunately, when I think of the 4 Celtic fire festivals, it's like the seasons shift to the next turn. Kind of like my tick on the wheel,
Yeah.
The tick in the wheel, this is the shift of the season. This is how I look at it in my mind. On paper, we're moving on to fall, but in my mind, obviously, we're not moving on to fall. We still got another month or so of summer left, but technically, on paper, we're shifting to the next season.
That's one of the things I love about this season. And you mentioned that it was kind of like an in-between time, like a liminal space. And I really feel that because it's hot. It's summer. Everything's green and gold, a little bit gold too, and ripe.
Honestly, I thought festival season had a part of the liminal feel.
A little bit, yeah, that helps for sure. But I get home and there's sunflowers growing on my front patio because my husband is obsessed with birds and tosses out sunflower seeds, and a whole bunch of them germinated and grew little tiny sunflowers all in my front yard. I love it.
Actually, he told me the story when I was there, and I was like, man, those are good sunflowers. He's like, yeah,
Oh,
I was just feeding birds, and this is what happened. I'm like, dude, you rock.
unexpected bonus. And across from me is fields, tons and tons of fields and farms. And I watch them as they cut down the hay and roll it into the big, huge bales. So I'm seeing firsthand this type of, season, this Gaelic, Scottish type of weather, I guess, the cutting down of the grain, the change of the season, but it still feels hot. It still feels like summer. But the grain man, John Barleycorn, has gone from the bright young man who took off to the woods and to the hidden spots in the fields with the goddess in the spring and early summer. He's older now. His hair's gray. He's gone from green to gold. He's kind of getting older now. Even the days are getting shorter.
Don't say that. Stop.
I know, but they are. We're on the waning half, the dark half.
But, it's also a time to kind of, you give that quote unquote mid-year reflection. It also gives you a time to be thankful for what you have reaped out of what you've sowed. You get
Yeah.
that whole be a little thankful, show a little gratitude. But where do I go from here? I got, X amount of time left till the end of the year, whether you look at the end of the year as Samhain or the calendar end of the year in December. I've come this far. What's left? What do I have to shift? How do I have to readjust? And that can be in any aspect of your life, in your job, in your spirituality, whatever the case may be. Where do I have to shift to get to where I expected to be for my year-long plan?
This is the first of three harvests. This isn't the final harvest. Everything's still abundant. Depending on where you are, you can still grow things for a late summer crop. You can start to grow things for a fall crop. So, taking that metaphorically in that whole doctrine of signatures, like for like magic, in your life that matches, this is the time to see where you're at, just like you said, with all the seeds, but you still have time to change it if you need to. So that's why it's a perfect time to take stock, because if you need to plant new seeds or go in a slightly different direction, now is the perfect time to do it.
Or just lay out in the sun and have a good day.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Self-care. Oh, and that brings me, actually, I'm so glad you said that because that brings me to the other thing I wanted to talk about this year is Lughnasadh is a great time to look within and initiate some self-care. And I'm going to relate it to the story of the start of this festival.
As long as you don't circle it back to journaling, we're good.
Nope, not a journal to be had here. Well, until later in the episode, but we'll get there.
Damn you.
In this story, one of the things about Lughnasadh is it's named after the god Lugh. Lugh is the first part, and Nasa basically means assembly or gathering. So it's the gathering of Lugh. But it's a festival that he started for his foster mother, Tailtiu, the goddess Tailtiu. She was a queen of the Firbolg, and she was an earth goddess, very powerful, very strong. And she looked around the land and she saw that it was wild and it was untamed. And she knew that people would need it to be more orderly and to give them food. So she gathered herself, this earth mother, this great goddess, and she went through the entire land and she cleared it and prepared it and created agriculture so that the people could grow food. But she used up all of her energy, all of her power and might on this great task.
I
She
feel that, by the way.
Right, right. She just didn't stop. She saw what needed to be done, and day and night until the job was completed, she did it. And then she laid down to rest and died. And so that kind of follows along with the god of the grain, only in this case, it's the goddess who created the agriculture. You do all this great work, and then there's a sacrifice, right? You grow this grain and then you cut it down and sacrifice it to create bread. She created agriculture and sacrificed herself in the
Herself.
process. So even though this festival, this day is about work and sacrifice, It's also Lou's chance to honor his mother through games and crafts. And he decided he wasn't going to mourn his foster mother. He was going to celebrate her and do all these wonderful things to celebrate her. So, what I'm saying is instead of like Tailtiu, giving all of yourself and then dying only to be celebrated after your death, let's take this opportunity to take stock of where we're at. See where
Know when
maybe,
to reevaluate and pivot
yes,
before you drain yourself to nothing.
yes, and definitely take time to celebrate yourself. Like Lugh celebrates Tailtiu, she should be around to celebrate herself too, to celebrate that hard work that she did.
Why do I feel this hardcore? I
I
don't know
think
if it's
we,
how we worded it, but like I'm feeling this one deep.
yeah, I think we all do. We all have times in our life when we have given so much of ourselves, and sometimes it can be hard to stop. Whether you've given enough and you need to take a rest now before you give more, or like you said, you've given enough and you realize that this isn't working.
Now you got to pivot.
Now you got to pivot and you need to take that break. You need to give yourself that space and be like, hey, I'm so proud of the work I've done. Now let's see if it's still what I need, if I'm still going in the right direction. Give yourself that space and that grace magically in your life. Do that for you.
Some of the goals you set at the beginning of the year, and this is a reason you want to reevaluate. Some of the goals you set at the beginning of the year, throughout the year, you meet and exceed those goals. So, a good time to kind of reevaluate where you are isn't for any other reason than you've checked enough of your boxes off. You either need to add new boxes or figure out what boxes are left.
And you need to give yourself a time to do that reevaluation without overextending yourself. And sometimes you need to take a step back from your project. Sometimes I'm doing work or working on a workshop or I'm working on one of our next episodes. I like to give it time. I'll come to a point where I feel like I can step away from it for a minute and give it a little time to rest, give myself time to rest and to think about other things, do other things. And then I can come back to it fresh with new eyes.
New perspective.
Exactly, exactly. So not only have you rewarded yourself for a job well done, you've stopped before you've spent yourself too far, and you've given yourself space to kind of reevaluate if you need to.
Burnout's a real thing.
Exactly. And nobody needs that in any aspect of their life, magical, mundane, whatever. So, what are some things that we can do to celebrate, Lugh, to honor the sun wherever we're at in the world and to honor ourselves and to honor the work that we've done so far this year?
Sometimes there's magic in the most simple things. And it's a busy time of year. It's festival season. There's still such a thing as day jobs, side jobs. This is generally the one holiday where it's just about being out in the sun. No frills. I don't always have time for the extras. Yes, I've done the baking bread thing and all of that, but sometimes I just have time to just sit out and feel the sun for what could be. I don't want to say like one last time because it's not one last time, but it starts to wane. Soak it up while you can, just as your plants and stuff need that sun and that energy to grow for you to harvest, you need that sun energy to grow.
And honoring the sun, whether you go out and sit in it, or maybe you're like First Initial K, our listener from East Texas, and the sun is not super happy with you. It's super humid, it's super hot, it's very strong. You can still go out early morning or late evening and watch the sunset, or go out in midday just for a second and feel what that sun is like, honor the strength of it like me with my sunflowers, my unexpected bonus sunflowers in my front yard. Go to a farmer's market if you can, or just as you're driving by some flowers on the side of the road, admire them a little bit. Just take a moment to take a breath and just appreciate where you're at in your life and appreciate where the sun's at where you live, however it shows up there.
And there's also, at least around here in the Northeast, there's a lot of local farms that will let you do the you pick. I think that's more gratifying. Obviously, if I'm having a low energy day, I'm just going to go buy it from the farmer's market. But that you pick gives you that sense of I am the one harvesting it. And, me, zero green thumb, which by the way, plants are doing fabulous. But sometimes the you pick, whether it be the you pick wildflowers or the you pick fruits and vegetables, now is the time. Swing by one. Good way to spend a Saturday morning. But I think ritually, kind of just taking a moment to give thanks for what you have, give thanks for what you're still working towards. If you were to break Thanksgiving up into a season, I look at this as like Thanksgiving season, like now
Yeah,
until November,
me too.
Thanksgiving season, because
This is like mini Thanksgiving to me.
it is, you are harvesting and thankful for what did grow and,
Yeah.
trying to refigure, okay, this didn't work out this year. How can I readjust so it works out next time? Whether that be in your crops or your daily life or your spirituality. It's a time to kind of be thankful for all the things that are falling into place this season.
And Lunasa and Mabon, I love that you said it's Thanksgiving season because those two holidays, Lunasa, August 1st, is just like Thanksgiving light to me. And then Mabon is like full on Thanksgiving celebration. But they're definitely both food-based holidays to me, and I fucking love food so much. Oh my God.
Well, and
So
also, I know we've said this in the past, but Thanksgiving is like your thing. That's like
that's
your peak.
true. My
That's your peak
family's
holiday.
That's right. My family, my mother in particular, that is her peak holiday. And I do love carbs. I do love bread. Oh, goodness, I love me some bread. So, buying bread or baking bread, going to a farmer's market if I can, just eating and knowing that somewhere along the line, you eat some berries, you can taste the sunlight in them practically. Even if you're just eating like some fresh berry ice cream, that's still a taste of summer and a taste of that sunlight. And especially eating a meal with friends or a meal with family. It doesn't have to be like a full-on Thanksgiving meal. Just having an intentional meal, even if small snacks with friends, is a beautiful way to celebrate Lunasa, particularly if there's bread involved.
Here in the Northeast, August tends to be I don't know if it's a weird thing that I just noticed, but the moon seems super huge in August. Probably the way it tilts towards the earth and all of that scientific stuff that is a lot of math for me. But the moon always seems huge in August, and that's always been something that has kind of captured my attention about August. Maybe not Llamas in general, but that August vibe. You're starting to do the first harvest, and then you've got this huge moon. August is a vibe.
It really is. It's that it still feels like summer, but you have the first hints of cool nights. It's a great time to have fires at night to celebrate the light and the sun and the growing season.
Hence the fire festival, Celtic
Yeah.
Fire Festival.
You know, the other thing I love about this is much like Imbolc, which the Southern Hemisphere is celebrating right now.
Also a
This,
Celtic Fire Festival.
yep, this fire festival also celebrates water. You'll often find people will leave offerings. This is a great time to celebrate your land spirits, to celebrate the animistic nature of all things. You know, leave offerings of fruits, vegetables, maybe a little bit of bread. It doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit out by a tree or by a river or by a pond. Something natural, something that is biodegradable, that's not going to hurt the land. Obviously, you want to give good things as offerings, but offerings by water, you know, you don't have to build a bonfire. If you can have a little candle in your house, or even if you can't, getting by water for this fire festival, oddly enough, is another good way to celebrate Lunasa. Holy wells, holy streams were very popular this time of year. Grab onto your broomstick, witches. Back after these messages.
Cosmic Muse Volume 1 Your Voice, Mercury. It's not just an ebook, it's a sacred portal. A guided activation for your personal voice codes. Through intuitive prompts, poetic rituals, and Mercury's magic, you'll reconnect with the truth that's been waiting to rise within you. Download now at penniesandprose.com. Begin the journey back to your voice.
It's also, I like getting a thing of sunflowers,
Come to my house. I'll let you pick them in my front yard.
the yellow, the orange, the red candles, just it's almost like you're flirting with fall. That's the
Yes.
best way to describe it. You're flirting with fall.
I love that. Yeah, summer is flirting with fall at Lunasa. That's a good one. Good one, Shell. You can also say prayers, come up with a little chant, or read a poem outside to nature. This is a great time, like I said, to give offerings to the land spirits and to the natural world around you. You can journal on abundance.
You couldn't just stop yourself, could
No,
you?
I couldn't.
Yeah.
So you write about all the things, just like at a Thanksgiving, write about all the things that you're thankful for. Just like Lou was very thankful for Tailtiu, and so he had all these celebrations. You can write all the things that you're thankful for.
In that vein, gratitude rituals, sometimes it's nice to just take a moment and just be like, you know what? I appreciate everything that has good, bad, or indifferent happened because the bad and indifferent were for a reason and the good is fabulous.
Maybe you're a witch in the broom closet, as you're eating dinner and you have a little bit of bread with whatever meal you're eating. Before you take that bite of bread, think about the sacrifices you've made. Think about the work that you've done. Think about the things that you're proud of and what you're grateful for before you eat the bread. Because bread itself is part of this holiday. It is a symbol of the growing grain that then gets cut down, the growing God that then dies and gives himself in sacrifice to us to create that bread so that you can have that. And so it encompasses the whole meaning, I guess, the whole purpose of the season. So, maybe you just want to take a minute before you take a bite of bread and just think of all the things that you have done, all the sacrifices that you have made for the year.
See, this has always been big incense time for me. I've been a crazed maniac with making loose incense forever. And you are at a point now where you can harvest those things. Like, I have so much mint right now. I lack such a green thumb. I feel like someone should have told me that that stuff grows like wildfire. Like, I feel like I needed that warning. But anywho, so, the chamomile's going, the mint's going, the basil's going. I have more sage. I don't want to say I tried to kill the sage, but for lack of a better phrase, I think I tried to kill it and it won't die. So, so now is generally a time of year where I'm plucking that, I'm drying that, and then starting to, use the old mortar and pestle, trying to get my herbal mixes going, my incense, my loose incense blends going, because I do like to get them cut fresh, get them right dried out, get it made, get them sealed up. So it's also kind of, it's like the crafty time of year, really. If
Yeah.
you're a canner, it's time where you start canning things. It's like the crafty holiday where you're almost like the prep is starting, pre-prep.
And Lu is the god of craftsmanship. So anything that you do like that honors Lu. As I'm gonna have to take a picture for social media because I love how it looks so much. I have mugwort in bundles and leaves. I have mullein and
I'm
lavender.
gonna sneeze just thinking of that.
I have catnip and mint. Catnip is also a mint, but all these things drying in my office, and I absolutely love it. I have some in bundle form. I have some leaves just hanging everywhere and it's just perfect. And I do think about Lou because, these grew outside, they grew in the sun, and he is all about crafts and craftsmanship. And, I'm a maker, you're a maker. We like making things, incense, all sorts of stuff.
You have such a good perspective about Lou and that whole thing, whereas I'm just standing there. I got this. Look at this little sage bundle. You're gonna die laughing. So I pluck it, I dry it out, I do what I do with it, and then I sit there and I go, no shit. I grew this and it didn't die. You're
Yay!
getting all philosophical, and I'm just like, holy shit, it lived long enough for me to do what I wanted to with it.
I'm more just like super happy because I like how it looks all hanging, drying in my office. That and oh, quick tip, speaking of drying herbs in your office, I have not yet gotten a dehumidifier, like a dryer, like what do they call that? Like that machine you can dry herbs and stuff in.
Dehydrator, a food
Dehydrator. I
dehydrator.
have not gotten a food dehydrator. I'm broke witch, whatever. But I did find a cool workaround to super fast dry my herbs. Check this out. So I have, like a cooling rack that you have for cookies. It's like a mesh
Yeah,
screen.
yeah.
So I take that and I lay out all my herbs in single file, all nice on that. And then I put it on the dashboard of my car.
Interesting. Interesting.
And I leave it there for hours. I did it with dandelions in the spring. I've done it with mullein. I've done it with mugwort. It's fantastic. It works so good. They dry perfectly every time.
So funny story because you never told me this. So me and my sweet love were out and about, and I was like, "Ooh, those are some wild roses. I'm gonna clip a couple because who the hell keeps scissors in their car besides me?" So I clip a couple of these wild roses and I dried them out on the dashboard of my car. And
Yeah.
after a few days, my sweet darling says, "Are you leaving those there? Because they're weird." And I was like, come on now.
Oh, they look so good. They probably smelled good every time you open the car door, too.
That's what I thought. But, here we are.
But yeah, so no, I like to have it on a little up so you get airflow underneath and on top and just single layer on there. So yeah, those cooling racks in the dashboard of your car, nice hot day, perfectly dry. Who needs a food dehydrator?
I don't recommend driving around with a cooling rack,
No,
though.
no. I would take it definitely on a day you're not driving around. Or, I've heard that thing where you go to work and you put cookies on the cookie sheet on the dashboard of your car and you just leave it there while you go into work. And then when you come out of work, you have fresh baked cookies. You could do that with your herbs, right? Put them up on the dashboard when you go into work and you leave your car parked. And then when you come out, you have nice dry herbs and your car smells like lavender.
Okay, you're a weirdo. Who sun bakes cookies on their dashboard?
Oh, it's been done. It's been done. It works too. It gets hot in a car on a sunny day. It really does. But cookies, I'm not going to attest to whether that works great or not because you need a nice hot day. But herbs, however, most hot days will be more than plenty to dry your herbs out. No need for a food dehydrator. It's perfect.
I like hanging them.
I
I'm
do too, but
traditional.
I did have a little trouble last year. I found blue asters and bee balm that I
Yeah,
harvested
you can't
from.
hang that
Yeah, and I didn't dry them well. I didn't
unless
know
you
that.
got fairy-sized hands.
Yeah, I didn't know the dashboard trick last year, and I still didn't have a food dehydrator. So I didn't dry them well enough. I thought I had left them out long enough to dry, but after I jarred them, unfortunately, they ended
They
up
got
moldy.
moldy.
They did,
Yeah.
because I did not let them dry enough before I jarred them up.
That's
So
the key to drying herbs. You have to have them super dry or you get mold.
that's right. Yeah. So don't jar them up until they're super dry. But the very first thing I dried that way was dandelion heads this spring, and those are pretty juicy. There's a lot of moisture in a dandelion flower, and they dried out beautifully. I've had them jarred up since the spring. Not a hint of mold. They're perfect.
Yeah, it took me a little extra with the chamomile that I grew this year. It was almost like, how the little, I don't know what the heck it's called, but the thing in the center, that took a long time to dry out.
Thicker it is, the longer it takes. But okay, so that is our crafty thing that we've been doing a lot of lately because there's so much abundance out there. Everything is growing and popping and trying to get flowers. And if you've got mint, it's everywhere because that's what time of year it is. This is the first harvest. Everything is abundance. Our old community would bring their first fruits. Communities right now that we gather with are doing feasts just because Thursday night at one of the bonfires that we did, it was about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they brought out a taco feast, and everybody had a taco feast at the Roundhouse because,
How could you not love tacos at 3 in the morning?
oh yeah, taco feast at the Roundhouse. Yes, please do that again. Let's do that every night. But feasting with friends is a fabulous way to share in that abundance and to kind of bring that into your life, especially if you can involve games. So you and your love should come over. We'll have some food, we'll have some bread, and we'll play Catan all night. And that'll honor Lou.
Only if you're promising tacos.
Oh, yeah, we could do tacos. I love me some good tacos. Heck
All right,
yes.
then I'm game.
Go to your local farmer's market. Try a new skill. Try something new. Hey, if you haven't dried herbs before or tried to make your own incenses, maybe that could be a skill that you tackle in honor of Lou and Tailtiu this year.
Now, Layla, before we let the fine people get on with their days and nights, I would be remiss if I did not bring this up. And I did not mention this to you prior, so this is going to be a total shock to you too. But I feel like I just want to take a moment to say to all the Gen X folks out there, to all of the music lovers across the world, we feel you with the passing of Ozzy. I've cried, I've laughed, I've reminisced about my childhood. I just want to just say R.I.P. Ozzy.
Hail the traveler.
Hail the traveler. He was a funny son of a bitch with some good songs.
He was. Sad news.
We generally don't take time out for that type of thing, but we did for the Queen. We are for the Prince of Darkness. So R.I.P. Ozzy.
R.I.P. So that is it for our Lughnasadh episode. Hopefully you'll get out there, have a little bit of feast, play some games, maybe learn a new skill, try some crafting to honor Lugh, and take care of yourself. Don't burn yourself out. Do the work, but take a break before you give too
Kill
much.
yourself.
Yeah, before you give too much of yourself. Like Tailtiu. We're modern pagans, witches, and magical people here. We do not need to give all of ourselves to the point of sacrifice. Take care of yourself. Do the work, but do the self-care as well.
And be grateful for the work you've done, appreciate the work you've done, and pat yourself on the back and reevaluate, see what you need to change, what you need to alter, and get a move on with the rest of the year.
Check on where those seeds that you planted at In Bulk are. See if you need to replant. See if you need to give them something, a little boost. But yeah, this is the time to reevaluate, see where you're at. You still have time. There's still time before the end of the year to make changes on your goals, to make new goals, and to move forward with that.
Now, we have something super excited planned for the next couple of episodes, guys.
You.
We are going to do a 5-part episode series.
You know, we were so inspired by Brushwood and by all of the elemental days. We've decided we're going to do a 5-part series on the elements. We're going to go with elemental energy, starting with air or earth. And then
and we're going to talk about this. We'll get to it because I said earth, you said air. We'll discuss.
And we'll discuss why that is. But we're going to talk about earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. Maybe not necessarily in that order, but we'll figure it out. So we will talk about all of those different types of energies, how you can use those energies in your magic practice. We're not going Wiccan here. This is more earth-based.
Elemental.
This is more elemental magic-based, just natural magic-based. So don't you worry. We're not going to go down any strange paths. But we're going to try to go through all those different correspondences and how you can use those energies in your practice.
So stay tuned, stay grateful,
and keep it witchy.